Welcome to the Holidays to Switzerland podcast. If you're planning a trip to Switzerland, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Carolyn Schonefinger, the founder of holidaystoswitzerland.com. And in each episode, my expert guests and I share practical tips to help you plan your dream trip to Switzerland. You'll get helpful advice about travelling around Switzerland and hear about the most popular destinations, as well as some hidden gems. And we'll introduce you to plenty of wonderful experiences that you can enjoy as part of your Swiss vacation. Each episode is packed with expert tips, itinerary ideas, and inspiration to help make your Swiss vacation planning easy. So let's dive in. Grüezi, welcome to this week's episode. I'm really looking forward to sharing today's episode with you as I'm chatting with my friends Alan and Jackie about their recent trip to Switzerland. I've known Jackie and Alan for quite a few years now, and like me, they love to travel. Alan and my husband worked in the same industry for many years, and we would meet up every year at conferences and spend time together in some amazing locations. Jackie and Alan met up again with my husband and I in our hometown last year, and it was then that they told me that they were planning to visit Switzerland. But they weren't sure what they should see and do and how they should actually go about organising their trip. For most of their trips, Jackie and Alan make all the bookings themselves, and they mostly travel independently. But this trip was a little different. They'd done a bit of initial research about Switzerland and knew they wanted to travel around by train, but they were just overwhelmed with all the logistics and weren't sure exactly where to start. I suggested they have a look at the rail packages offered by Switzerland Travel Centre, Switzerland's largest tour operator and a partner of Holidays to Switzerland. They did just that and decided that was the perfect fit for them. They could still travel independently, but they didn't have to worry about the hassle of planning an itinerary, checking train schedules, choosing the cheapest rail pass or tickets to buy, or making seat reservations on those premium panoramic trains. Everything was done on their behalf. And by using the Holidays to Switzerland promo code, HTSWISS, when they booked online, Jackie and Alan also benefited from a 5% discount. They've kindly agreed to share their Swiss travel experiences with us today. Hello, Alan and Jackie. Welcome to the Holidays to Switzerland podcast. Thank you very much for joining me today. Could you tell our listeners a bit about yourselves and your travel experience? Was this your first time to Switzerland?
Okay. Hi, how are you, Carol?
Very well, thank you, Alan.
So we're a little bit about ourselves. Well, we're both 65, both retired in the last couple of years, and part of our retirement planning is to do some travel, and we've done quite a bit of travel in the last decade around Europe, Asia and North America, but hadn't really done Switzerland in any rigour at all. I think Jackie might have been there twice.
Well, I've been there once, but it was just very briefly. So when we were going to Europe, Alan particularly, we wanted to do Switzerland in a little bit more detail and just take our time with it and really experience it, didn't we?
Yeah, I think I'd only ever spent one night there sort of travelling through from Germany to Italy. So it was something that I wanted to a gap I wanted to fill. So that was the plan.
Okay, good. And I know that you're both, as you said, you've travelled quite a bit and you've seen quite a lot of Europe. What is it about Switzerland that made you really want to go and explore it a bit more in depth?
I think for me it was the mountains and knowing that the Alps run straight through the middle of it. The one day that I had spent there going through it before was on another trip, and I could see that it was spectacular, but it was the middle of winter that trip and it was only one day, and I thought, I've got to come back here at another time and do it more properly. And of course we had to wait for retirement to come around for that to happen, but here we are.
Fantastic. So could you tell everyone, when was your trip? What month were you in Switzerland?
So our trip to Switzerland was from the 1st of June and we ended up doing 17 nights. So it went from the 1st of June till the 17th of June.
Okay, great. Now, I know because we're friends and we've actually travelled a little bit together on other occasions, but I know that you're quite independent travellers. And prior to actually getting to Switzerland on this trip, you rented a car and you drove around in the UK. So Why did you decide when it came to Switzerland to book a rail package, to have someone make the arrangements on your behalf?
So you are 100% right. We do like to travel independently. Like even before the Switzerland, as you said, we did a month just driving ourselves around England and Scotland, which we loved. So I guess the rail package, from doing a little bit of research on it, rail and train seem to be the best way to get around Switzerland. We know the rail system is excellent. And so to get to all the destinations that we wanted to go to, rail seemed to be the way to go. And booking through a package, it sort of did take the worry out of it a little bit. And having the flexibility that we did have with it sort of made up our mind that would be a good way to go.
I think also I did all the driving in England and Scotland, and that was over 2,000 miles. So I was ready for a break and ready to sit and let someone else drive me.
That sounds like a good plan. So who did you make the booking through, the rail package? Who was that booked through, and what part of the arrangements did they make on your behalf?
Yeah, we booked through the Switzerland Travel Centre. Having a look at the tours, we decided on the Grand Train Tour of Switzerland, the Classic. So that was the one that we actually booked. So the company did do all the rail tickets for us, and for the ones that were necessary, they booked the seats on the trains that were needed. So they definitely had more of an idea, like going from Zurich to Lucerne, they go every half an hour. So they just basically, we had the ticket to get the train anytime we wanted. So we had the flexibility to do that anytime. But the ones that get really busy and booked out, they actually had our seat, it was first class, and we had our cabin, our coach and everything. So they managed all that for us, which was great.
Okay. And the accommodation, that was all part of the package as well?
Accommodation was all part of the package. And the thing I guess I liked about the accommodation is that also had a bit of flexibility with it. We weren't locked into just one hotel in each place that we stayed at. So being able to have a little bit of a look on the recommendations from the travel centre gave us 3 or 4, sometimes 5 options that we could book with each place. And I really liked that I could have a look at them and then just make a booking with it. And probably the game changer as well was we could add extra nights in certain places. So we really didn't want to be spending one night in each place and just spend our whole time just on trains. So we really minimum of 2 nights, and on recommendation, we booked 3 nights in some places, which worked out perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, good. All right. Well, we'll get into your actual itinerary in more detail in a minute. But before, I just want to ask you, so how easy did you find the booking process? So you've gone onto the Switzerland Travel Centre website, you've selected the trip that you want to do, and then you know that you wanted to book extra nights here and there. So then how did you go about actually booking it?
I found the booking really good, because basically you could just add those extra days. It wasn't difficult at all doing it, and having the accommodation there. So I found the booking process through that was very, very easy to do. And I'm not technological at all. So once I got onto what the itinerary was, we followed that itinerary, added in the extra nights, and then it just did the rest for us. So it was very easy to book.
Okay, well, that's very good to know. So once the trip was booked, and then before you go, you've got to pay for it. So once you'd done that, how did you receive all the tickets and the accommodation vouchers and all the, the final info that you needed to show when you're traveling around Switzerland?
Yep, everything was emailed. Yeah, so we got everything on email. So it had our train tickets on the ones, like I said, that were booked. It had the coach number. It had our seats that we were sitting in and everything like that. So we did receive all that by email, and I just could print everything off, which I tend to be one that I like to have a hard copy of things. So by having it all there, that's how we received all our information. And the other thing we did do that was offered was our luggage could be transported from certain hotels. So we actually did take advantage of that, so that basically we could just drop our heavy suitcases downstairs at reception. That ran absolutely smoothly, and it was just basically at our hotel. So we could get on the train with just some hand luggage. And so for us, that was actually made it a little bit easier, didn't it, Al?
Yeah, we weren't dragging bags from hotels to railway stations or down railway station steps or anything like that on 5 or 6 occasions. That was really worthwhile.
Yeah. Okay. So for anyone listening who's not familiar with that service, that's offered by the Swiss Railways. It's obviously pre-arranged and you do have to pay for it, but you leave your luggage at the hotel reception by a particular time in the morning. I think it's usually 8 o'clock. And then it gets delivered straight to your next hotel that evening, which I think is usually around 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. or 7 p.m.
Yeah, I think in every occasion, I think when we arrived at the hotel, the bags were already there.
Right. Wow, that's fantastic.
So
yeah.
that was great, yeah.
And even one hotel, Carolyn, where it was self-check-in, and we sort of thought you just had to basically in the foyer book yourself in. And we sort of thought, I wonder how we're going to get our suitcases because there's no one here, and our bags were actually in our room. So it actually worked really well for us. We didn't have any problem with it at all.
Okay, so let's talk about your itinerary. Can you give us a bit of an overview of how many days you stayed in each place and perhaps what you did in each of the locations?
We started in Zurich, which was before the tour, actually. That was where we came out of Scotland, so we landed in Zurich, spent a couple of days in Zurich.
3 nights, yeah.
And had a look around there. And then the tour started at Lucerne. Mm-hmm. So we had 2 nights. I'll just run through the locations and nights. 2 nights in Lucerne. Then we went to Interlaken, 3 nights there. Then we went to Montreux, 2 there. Zermatt was our next stop, which was 3. Mm-hmm. And then the long train trip across Switzerland got us to St. Moritz for 2 nights. 2 nights in Lugano, down in the Lakes district. Then 2 nights back in Lucerne and that was the end of the tour. And then we headed up to Zurich to fly out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, great. So firstly, when you're traveling between destinations, did you choose to travel in first class or second class?
We did go first class.
Okay, and so you were travelling in June. Did you find the trains particularly busy in first class?
No, not in first class. I think in second class, they were very busy because I think a lot of the tour groups, when there's a lot of people, they tend to book second class. So we found that second class was really quite busy. To be honest, first class, very comfortable, very easy. And it was really quite nice not having that crowd sort of up there and everything. So it was quite good, the first class, wasn't it?
Trains are really good.
Trains were great.
So each time you got on into a first class carriage, if it didn't require a seat reservation, you didn't have any trouble finding somewhere to sit?
They checked. No, not at all.
No,
there was room. They checked every time. There were guards coming through and checking tickets and that, and occasionally they'd move second class passengers that had found their way into the first class suite. They'd move them on.
Yes.
Yeah, but you never had any trouble finding somewhere to sit once you got on board?
No. But most of the longer journey ones were pre-booked. So we definitely had our seat allocation, and just going from Zurich to Lucerne, for example, because they run every half an hour or so, we had no trouble getting seats in the first class area at all. And, so it worked really well, didn't it?
Yeah. Okay, good. Now, you mentioned there that some of those trains require reservations, and they're not what's referred to as the premium panoramic trains. So the Glacier Express, that really long train ride that you did from Zermatt to St. Moritz, and a few of the others. I think you actually went on probably all 5 of the panoramic trains. So did you have a favourite?
Well, we did actually. Alan can go first because we had different ones that we liked. I found the 8-hour one was quite a long train trip. The scenery was lovely, but 8 hours was quite a long one to do. That was obviously our longest one. And which one did you like?
My favourite one was the Bernina. I think it's called the Bernina Express, which went from St. Moritz down to Tirano, and then from Tirano there was a bus around to Lugano. But that train trip from St. Moritz down to Tirano was lovely, really scenic. It was scenic everywhere, but I particularly enjoyed that one. I think because the train was twisting and turning a lot, and you get to see the angles out of the train and look back and see the train behind you and all of that. So that was my favourite. Jackie had a different one.
Mine, I loved the Gotthard Panorama Express because we had a guide there. So I found the time went really quick. By the time he gave us a bit of information, and he was really friendly, and I just found it really interesting, and the views were really lovely, and it wasn't too long a train ride. So that probably was my favourite.
Okay. Oh, well, that's good that you both like something different. So it just proves there's something for everyone, isn't there? Yeah. So what were some of the highlights, like when you're in each of the locations? You obviously did some sightseeing and some mountain excursions. What were some of the favourite things that you did?
Yeah, I think this is, in terms of my information for your people listening to your podcast, I think this is a really important issue, is to plan what your day trips might be, your trips to the mountains, assuming that people don't want to just spend their time in the cities, but getting out to the mountains. And, there's travel involved in getting to those mountains, but it's not excessive, but you need to plan it out. And I think ours worked really well because we had those 3 days in Interlaken where we were able to get out to 2 different mountain locations, and then we had 3 days in Zermatt, which was the same. We were able to get out to 2 of those locations, and also sort of have the 3rd day as a rest day, or you could have put that in the middle or whatever. I mean, we didn't want to be training and then going to mountain destinations every day in a row. That's why we spread the trip out a little bit longer so we could have a couple of rest days. And for me, the highlights were Interlaken, going up to Grindelwald and Lauterbrunnen, and also the day trips we did out of Zermatt, which was up the Cog train and then out to...
So we had 2, so where we could see the Matterhorn. So we had a picture perfect day. So seeing the Matterhorn by going up on the cable car was fantastic. And they also had a glacier up there as well.
Glacier Paradise.
Yeah. So you could walk through, and so we could really enjoy them. So we did them on separate days so that we could really take our time and benefit for that. And so Zermatt, having the 3 nights, was well worth it because it's a beautiful little town that you go to. And then if you do your 2 days with going up to see, the Glacier Paradise and the Matterhorn on the other one, it's fantastic, wasn't it?
Your day trips tend to be, half day to maybe a bit longer, 4, 5, 6 hours, depending on what you want to do and how tired you get or how much walking and hiking you want to do. So for us, we did cable cars and we did cog trains and gondolas, and we sort of got a bit of everything, but we certainly got up into the mountains on those day trips. That to me was the highlight. I mean, the trains around Switzerland were great, and the cities themselves are nice, and being on the lakes was nice. We got on the lakes a couple of times, but we were there for getting up on the cable cars and the gondolas right up to the top. There was only one time we had some bad weather. We couldn't get right to the top. We wanted to get up to Jungfrau right at the top, but we didn't. But we saw Grindelwald, and we got halfway up the mountain, a place called, I think it's called Eiger Glacier. And that, whilst it was disappointing not to get to Jungfrau, it would have cost us more to get up there, and it was fogged in.
Seen anything.
So
that's just the weather. That's the way it goes.
And we just flexed that on the day. And a lot of the hotels have screens in their
cameras
in their foyers. You can basically see what the weather's like before you commit to going up. So that was good.
Yes. The one I loved as well was when we were in St. Moritz on the lake. We got the cable car up, and fortunately it was right near our hotel, and the cable car, and we could walk down to the township then. So it was only a half-hour walk, but we went down Flower Road, I think it was, something like that. And it was just beautiful. They had a little story thing that was happening down there, and I absolutely loved that day because it was really just walking back down to the township, and it was really nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we also did that once in Zermatt when we were coming down from the Matterhorn Glacier. We got off at the second, which was the first stop on the way up. It was the last one on the way down, and we walked back into town. That was about a 20, 30-minute walk, wasn't it?
Oh, it was more than that. It was about an hour. Yeah.
It was an hour, so it was downhill. I wasn't going to do that uphill. But it was very nice.
That was beautiful.
We were basically walking downhill into the town of Zermatt, which has no cars, so it's just all pedestrian. And, the Matterhorn was over our shoulder every time we turned around and had a look. So, and we really felt like we were in Swiss countries that day, and also the day we were at Lauterbrunnen when we had a long walk down, probably about an hour and a half walk down through that valley too. So that was great.
Yeah, beautiful. With those mountain excursions that you did, had you prepaid for those with your package, or did you just say, no, we'll wait till we get there and then we'll just buy the tickets if the weather's good and it's suitable to go?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. So it wasn't included in our package at all. So We would decide the day before, wherever we were staying, we would look at the options that we've got to do. And luckily it wasn't too busy. It was just starting to get a few queues and everything like that. But then we would think, right, it's going to be clear weather. Let's go up to here and everything. So we would just go and buy the ticket at the station where the gondola goes from and then do it that way. We did that with every single one, actually.
Yeah, we also did Mount Pilatus from Lucerne.
Yeah, that was lovely.
So I think if you plan out which of these places you want to go to, and in our case, we talked to the hotel people each day when we would get there. We would say to them, we're only here for 1 or 2 or 3 nights. What are your recommendations? And in most cases, they'd pretty much confirm what we thought we were going to do anyway. And one guy told us, I remember with the Matterhorn, he said, look, this one particular one here is closer, but this other one, the cog rail, is considered to be the best view because of the angle it looks at the Matterhorn. So we went and did the cog rail first.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then we did the next one the next day.
Yeah, good. And I think too, you mentioned like staying 2 or 3 nights. If the weather had have been bad, it gives you that little bit more flexibility that you can, if there's one excursion that you really want to do, at least you've got another day that you can potentially do it. Imagine if you got to every single place and you're only there for a day or one night and you can't do any of those excursions. At least staying a bit longer, you get a little bit of flexibility, which is good.
Exactly. And so if you've got your heart set on going on it, the weather, as you would know, the weather, if it comes in, you just can't see anything at the top. So people that were only there for, like you said, for that one day, they ended up going up to Jungfrau, was it? Jungfrau.
Yeah,
but they said to us, you actually could not see anything, but they said we had no options. So we actually went up to the top and, just we've done it sort of thing. And then they came back. So having the extra day was it was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, the other thing that really worked for us too was that we had Montreux sort of in the middle of the trip, and we didn't do day excursions from there. There were some to do, and there was a lake excursion, but that day was a little bit windy, so we didn't go on the lake. But we just walked around the lakeside, and there's some things to do in that town. It's a nice little town, and for us that was a little bit of a refresh. Rather than being a travelling day. It was a day we just sort of day and a half that we just stayed around, went to a couple of restaurants and enjoyed ourselves there. So it broke the trip up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Now, I believe that with your package you had, so for the rail tickets, you had the half fare card. So all the half price tickets for all the rail trips you did were already included in your package, as well as the half fare card. But having that half fare card meant that when you wanted to do one of those mountain excursions, you only had to pay 50% of the ticket price, correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yes. And that was excellent. Yeah. And we had no trouble with that. No trouble at all with you. And that does save you quite a bit of money. Like you can get a full fare one, which is a lot more expensive, I think, if it covers everything. But the half fare one certainly was accepted everywhere, and we used that on every single one that we booked.
Okay, fantastic. So it sounds like you had overall a very good experience in Switzerland. Was there anything about Switzerland that surprised you?
Well, this wasn't a surprise, but Switzerland's quite expensive.
Especially for us Australians.
Because the dollar isn't really great. But when you're traveling, you just got to go with the flow with the dollar. And so we really did enjoy it. So it wasn't a surprise to us. But it is a fairly expensive place to go, but it was fantastic. And look, the food was great. The service was great. The rail system's brilliant. Everyone was very helpful.
People were great. Look, it didn't surprise me, but the trains ran like absolute clockwork.
Absolute clockwork.
To the minute. There was a Swiss Rail app that we were recommended to get, and that was fantastic because not only would it tell you the time of trains, it would also tell you the platform number you're getting on and switching on. A couple of the trains you switch halfway through and that type of thing. So it was just comforting to be on the train and have that app and know exactly what time you're going through various towns and which station you're getting off and changing platforms at and all of that. So that's well worth looking at, the little app for your phone.
Yeah, SBB mobile, that is. Yeah.
Initially, because I had all the rail tickets just basically emailed to me, they weren't individual tickets for each train. So we did go to the information centre at Lucerne when we got there. just to sort of make sure that we had all the right documentation and everything like that. And unfortunately, the woman that I did get said, well, where's your ticket? I said, well, I don't know. I said, this is what we've got. So she said, no, you've got to have a ticket for each train ride. So we did go back the next day. I said, Darren, I better try and sort this out. So we did, and I did contact Swiss Travel then to say, this is what we've been told from the information centre. They very kindly did email and say, no, that is your ticket. So when we did go back the next day just to verify with them, I got a very, very good, smart young man that said, that's your ticket. You don't have to queue up for anything. And so it was sorted very quickly, and it was just the wrong information we were given. So Swiss Travel were great. They reassured us that, no, that's your ticket. You don't have to worry. You've got everything. And then it was fine.
We learned a valuable lesson, which is if you're dealing with technology, speak to a 30-year-old, not a 60-year-old.
Yes, I was the same age as us. That was the problem.
that was the problem. We're all looking at the same thing and couldn't work it out. But this young guy instantly said, no, there it is.
Yeah. So your ticket came basically with a QR code on it. Is that right? So when on each train, the conductor would have just scanned that QR code and it would have indicated the correct ticket was applied, yeah. So is there anything about this trip in Switzerland that you wish you had done differently?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Like when we looked at I'm very, very glad that we added extra days in, because we did meet some people on the train after doing quite long train trips, and they were having to back up to do another train trip the next day. And I really did think, oh, wow, I'm glad we took our time. I think it would be very, very rushed if you did just get to a destination, have to get the train to the next destination. Much of the train trip is very comfortable. It's nice to sort of experience the places that you're at and, see what they have to offer. But to be perfectly honest, I think it was pretty perfect what we done. We were very, very happy with the nights that we spent, weren't we?
Yeah, we certainly saw most of Switzerland. And as much as I'd love to go back at some point, and we probably will at some point, there's no yearning to get back there for things we missed. Those 5 or 6 trains we got took us right across the country. We saw a lot of the highlights. While I was there, we were getting emails, little things coming through Facebook and whatnot, telling us all these places to visit in Switzerland. And most of them were on our agenda, or we'd seen them, or we were going to go to them next. So yeah, we feel like we did it really well.
Yeah, good. And you obviously had a lot of mountain experiences because you were in Lucerne and the Jungfrau region and Zermatt, but then you also had Montreux, which is the Riviera, and then you stayed in Lugano as well. So you got you got the Italian vibe there. And then St. Moritz, which is over on the eastern side. So you really did get a good mix of all the Swiss cultures and Zurich, yeah.
Zurich's different again, but a lovely city.
No, we really did enjoy each place that we went to, didn't we? It was really lovely.
Yeah, great. So have you got any tips for the listeners who are perhaps considering going to Switzerland and exploring it by train? And would you recommend booking a rail package?
I would definitely recommend booking a rail package. I really do feel that the train system is so efficient and it really does go to all the destinations throughout Switzerland. So you can really pick and choose. The only advice I would give is, as I said, take your time with it. Don't try and rush it too much, and then give yourself a chance to really see what Switzerland has to offer. The mountain excursions are fantastic, and I don't think you'd see them anywhere else in the world. So, give yourself that time to really enjoy it.
I think for us, the extra night, we stayed 3 nights, as I said earlier, in Interlaken and 3 nights in Zermatt. That extra night gave us the opportunity to do 2 of the 3 days. We did the day excursions.
Yeah.
So in both places, that was 4. And that got us really to the highlights, I think. I mean, there's probably a few highlights in Switzerland we didn't get to, but we got to 4 of the big ones, and probably on 3.5 of them had good weather. So I think the extra day or 2 gives you that opportunity, gives you that flexibility. And at our age, we didn't want to go at 100 mile an hour either. Yeah. So I think that they'd be the tips that we'd be recommending.
And the other thing I did love that I'll just mention is that when we did do the train that I really enjoyed, it had the boat going into Lucerne, and I loved that. That was, we got there, you literally get off the train station and you're at the ferry terminal and everything, and So that was a bit of a bonus, getting the boat back into Lucerne, and it was another beautiful day, wasn't it? So that was really enjoyable.
That was about a 2.5 hour boat trip across the whole of Lake Lucerne from the bottom to the top. So,
and it was lovely.
It was beautiful.
Your luggage automatically gets transferred from the train onto the boat for you, so you don't have to worry about doing that either. So it's...
Well, Carolyn, that was one of the ones that we had where it was at the hotel. So we didn't...
Perfect. So you didn't have to worry about it. You didn't even have to make sure it got on the boat. So
yeah, I got no idea. All I know is it was at the hotel when we got there, because we could pick 5. So you can just pick 5. So the ones where the hotels were the furthest destination, or like, for example, we stopped in Toronto for 3 hours. So that particularly was one that we just wanted hand luggage where we could go for a walk while we're waiting for the next stage of our trip and everything. So we picked the 5 that were most beneficial to us, and that was one of them. So it worked really well, didn't it?
Yep.
Oh, excellent. Great. Well, I will share your itinerary in the show notes for this episode so that anyone listening who wants to see exactly what you did where you stayed, I'll include that. Maybe if you're happy to share with me the names of the hotels that you stayed at, because folks might like to look those up. So I can include those in the show notes as well. So that would be great.
Okay, so the first one was in Lucerne, was the Barabos Hotel Lucerne, which is the jail.
Oh, yes, the old jail, yeah.
The old jail. Now, I found that was in a great central location. The accommodation was fairly basic, but as long as I got a bed, we had a shower, a bathroom and everything, it was fine. And it was in a very, very good location that was accessible to everything in Lucerne. But it was a fairly basic hotel. Breakfast was fine, but it was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had the commandant's quarters, so I think we had a good room.
Because they range from dormitory style to, where you have your own bathroom. So that was fine, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. In Interlaken, we stayed at the Crystal Interlaken, and that was lovely. We really enjoyed that one. And again, it was in a great position from the train station.
Only 200 metres.
Yeah, 200 metres. And then obviously there's East Interlaken and West Interlaken, so very close to the train station and to the city. So that one was really, really good. I'll get to my favourite one in Montreux. Montreux was my favourite accommodation. We stayed at the Mona Montreux, and I loved it. We loved it. It was right on the lake. We did upgrade our room, and so that was really probably my favourite hotel. So the Mona Montreux. Then in Zermatt, the Zermatt one was very, very nice, and that was at the Jagerhof Hotels and Apartments. And that was really nice, wasn't it?
That was nice.
Yeah. We didn't quite have a view of the Matterhorn because it was taken. That's fine. But it was in, again, a really good position to everything. And all the hotels, actually, were in a really good position. But the Jagerhof was very, very nice. Then we're in St. Moritz. Now, St. Moritz was at Hotel Nolde. Now, this one I really like. I really like this one too. Would you believe the gondola that went up the mountain was next door to the hotel that we were staying at. So we could just walk out the room, and we got the gondola up, didn't we? And then we could walk back through town.
This hotel was about 2 kilometres, or a kilometre and a half from the railway station and town.
Yes.
Around the lake a little bit. It was it wasn't right in town.
Yeah.
So we did have a bit of a walk to get around there, but, it was a walk along the lake, so you could do worse things than that.
We didn't have to worry about our bags, so we still only had our carry-on.
Yeah.
Made a difference, didn't it? But that one was a little bit further out, but I did really like that one. Then from St. Moritz, Lugano, let me just check. So Hotel City Lugano. Now, this one was the one that was a bit out of town.
No, it was a nice hotel.
It was fairly modern.
It was in the city, but you'd call it more in the commercial part of the city, not the touristy part of the city.
Yeah.
So we found ourselves walking which was fine, but you're walking 15, 20 minutes to get to the bay or to the restaurants.
More than that.
The hotel itself was fine, but it probably, location-wise, was not perfect. Yeah.
Because when we got there, we were trying to look for somewhere to eat, and really there was very limited around unless you go down to the bay, which was beautiful, but we sort of wanted something a little bit more local. And the next day when we walked down, Lugano was beautiful, but it was more than
The next day we found the whole touristy spot with all the restaurants and all of that, and
it was fabulous.
Down on the lake.
Yeah.
And, we're about 15, 20 minutes from that. So it probably wasn't a perfect location, or it took us a day to find it.
Yeah, but the hotel itself was fine. And then we came back to and stayed at the Ambassador at Lucerne, and I'm trying to remember that one.
That was the one that had the check-in with no...
Oh, that was the self-check-in place.
That was a self-check-in, yeah. It was interesting because we'd been through Lucerne sort of 14 or 15 days earlier and then came back through. We noticed how much busier it was.
Yes.
From start of June to mid-June.
Yeah.
There was a lot more people on the street and a lot more tourists around. So but we spent a night or two there before we headed to Zurich and flew out.
Yeah, that one was a little bit hard to find. Well, I had to ask 2 or 3 people, and before we could find it, room was fine, and again, it was in a good location.
Yeah.
The self-check-in was pretty easy.
That's another tip. Take a good battery charge for your phone.
Yeah.
The reason we couldn't find it was because we ran out of phone battery. We'd been on that lake cruise that Jackie talked about, taken so many photos that the phone ran out of battery.
So Alan had lost the dot to where the hotel was.
I'd lost my little map.
But we found it. So, it was good, wasn't it?
That's part of the fun, isn't it?
Yes.
We knew we were within a block or two of the hotel, but we lost all connection. So, it reminded us of the old days where you had to actually ask someone.
Yes, yeah. And did you stay at the same hotel in Zurich both before and after the tour?
No. In Zurich, we had 3 nights beforehand, and we stayed right in the main part of Zurich. But when we were coming back from Lucerne to Zurich, we just stayed at an airport hotel. Yeah, so we just stayed at the airport hotel for the night to get our flight home the next day.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me and telling everyone all about your amazing trip to Switzerland.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Caroline, and thanks for your help when we were setting it all up too. That was great.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, I'm very confident recommending Switzerland Travel Centre because I've met the people that work there and I know that they offer a really good product, so I was happy to recommend them to you. Booking a rail package was the perfect solution for Alan and Jackie. Is it the perfect solution for you too? With all of your rail tickets, seat reservations on the premium panoramic trains, and accommodation booked for you, as well as those super-duper luggage transfers if you wish, booking a Switzerland Travel Centre rail package is a hassle-free way to plan your trip. You get the best of both worlds. Everything booked for you, but you still get to travel independently. And as a valued listener of the Holidays to Switzerland podcast, you can benefit from a 5% discount when you mention the promo code HTSwiss, that's HTSWISS, when you're booking online or when you contact Switzerland Travel Centre by email. There are a huge range of pre-designed itineraries to choose from, and each one can be tailor-made to your individual requirements. So if you want to stay longer in some locations, just as Alan and Jackie did, you definitely can. Take a look at the show notes for a link to all the rail package itineraries, including Jackie and Alan's itinerary and the names of all the hotels they stayed at. I'll also include a link to my step-by-step guide, which shows you how to book your rail package online. It couldn't be easier. I really hope you found today's episode helpful. I think hearing from people who've actually travelled a certain way can really help to give you a more in-depth look at what options are out there and if they're suitable or not for you. So again, I hope it was really helpful. Thank you for tuning in, and until next week's episode, tschüss!